Hey guys, Logan from Woodsmith Magazine here. It's a beautiful day out, sun is shining, the birds are chirping, just heard a turkey gobble. I haven't shaved in a week, I'm wearing my Crocs, but you know what, it's a great day. Why is it a great day? Because this showed up. So this is my new sawmill. I'm pretty excited about this. This has been a long time in the making. This is a Norwood HD36 sawmill. It ships on 2 pallets, and I'm here. This is what, week 4, 5, 6, 7 of quarantine. I think we're still quarantined. I don't know because we haven't been on the outside world. But I've been waiting for this thing to show up for a couple of weeks now, and I've been looking at purchasing a sawmill for a long time. It's been a number of years I've wanted to buy a sawmill. And finally, I convinced my wife to say, okay. So I ordered it a couple weeks ago, just showed up yesterday. So I'm going to get it put together. That's one of the things I like about the Norwood HD36 is it does show up on 2 pallets. So by the time you get it all assembled, you basically know the mill inside and out. Everything shows up on, like I said, 2 pallets. Everything's labeled box-wise. There's labels on each box. And then this is the assembly instructions. It's pretty beefy. There's 270 some odd pages in here. So everything I've read is it's going to take 2 full days to assemble this. I can't really designate 2 full days in a row to assemble this, so I'm going to work on this a couple hours at a time. So you'll probably see me change clothes throughout this video. This isn't going to be fancy camera work or anything. I'm just going to let the camera roll and probably time-lapse through this thing and see how it goes together. And then we'll start doing some sawmilling videos, which I'm super excited about. Harvesting lumber, milling lumber is something that I have really enjoyed for, oh geez, I think the first tree we ever took down was at my grandpa's place when I was probably 12. So for a long time. So I'm excited to get this going. So let's go ahead and get it assembled.
So as we go through this video, I'm going to run you through kind of some of my decision-making processes as I was choosing this mill and kind of walk through what you're seeing. So if you don't want to hear me talk, feel free to hit that mute button, crank up your Stevie Nicks, and ignore me. So when I was looking at mills, I looked at a handful of brands. Obviously, Norwood was one of those brands I looked at. I also looked at Wood-Mizer, Hudson, and a company called Easy Boardwalk down in Missouri. And my criteria for a mill was that it needed to be portable, and it also needed to handle a fairly large log in the 30 to 36 inch range. And obviously the one I settled on was Norwood. And there was a couple of reasons why. The first was the HD36 will handle a 36-inch log. And that's a pretty big log once you get it on the ground and set it next to the mill. Another thing that I liked about the Norwood mill is that it shipped on 2 pallets, so by the time I got it assembled, like I mentioned before, I knew it inside and out. So if there's ever an issue with it, I assembled the thing, I will easily be able to figure it out. And also, the Norwood mill is sold a la carte. The model that Norwood uses is really cool. You can purchase the mill, as I did, and then down the road you can add hydraulics to it. So with a lot of other manufacturers, if you want hydraulics on your mill, you have to order it with hydraulics on it. There's no going back and changing your mind per se. But that's not true with Norwood. With Norwood, I purchased the mill with the trailer package and a couple of other accessories. And then as I'm doing more and more sawmilling, if I want to, I have the option of adding hydraulics. I can order just the hydraulic motor and pump from them and add, the hydraulic log loader, the hydraulic log turner, the clamps, and all that stuff. So if I want to, I can do that down the road. I don't have to make that decision when I order the mill. Now what you've been seeing for the last couple minutes is me assembling the bed of the mill. As you can see, there are galvanized rails that have a series of perforated holes in them. And then there's some outside rails and then the inner orange cross bunks. Now those cross bunks are where the logs will rest once the mill's fully assembled. And almost every one of those holes in the bed has a bolt and a lock nut in it. So everything's bolted together. It ends up being extremely rigid once it's assembled. And you would think that the bed needs to be welded for it to be, straight, flat, level, and to stay that way. But that's not necessarily true. Norwood actually has a video on their website of them putting over 10,000 pounds on the bed, and it doesn't deflect at all, which is super cool. And then these are the accessory jacks. These are supplied with the trailer package, so once you pull up to a job site, you can drop these jacks and level the mill off and get the weight off the axle. Getting this axle installed was probably about the hardest part of this. Obviously my helper there is not much help, but the axle's fairly heavy, so it probably would have been a little bit easier if I had had a second person. But the axle's a 3,500 pound axle, so it's designed to really carry the weight of the mill, not necessarily to load a log onto it and pull it down the road. Now the track bolts down to the top of the side rails. It comes in a couple of sections. There's some 4-footers, a couple of 2-footers, and everything bolts down. It's all galvanized, so it shouldn't rust. And this is what the saw head is actually going to ride on. Norwood supplies a gauge for you to set up the tracks with. This sets up the positioning of one side of the tracks, and then there's a spacer bar that you see here that's used to place the opposite track. So everything's perfectly spaced for the saw head. And this here is the beginning of the saw head assembly. This is what the motor will actually mount to, along with the wheels and the guide blocks that lower the head up and down. Now the rest of this, for the next couple minutes, is going to be assembling the saw head, and it's a pretty straightforward process. At this point I've been running the mill for 4 or 5 months now, and I've been extremely impressed with the way it works. It cuts extremely smooth. By far the hardest part of the entire process is manually loading and turning the logs, which really isn't that bad if you use a little bit of mechanical advantage with some log cants and the log roller and loader that the mill has, and you'll see those in a little bit. But I've been extremely happy with the mill. At this point, I've probably cut 40 or 50 logs on it, not only for myself, but for people around town going out and milling for. And it's extremely satisfying seeing a log turn into a piece of lumber. Obviously, after they're cut, they're going to have to dry for a number of years. A lot of the stuff I've been cutting is 2 inches thick, so it'll be a good probably 2 years until I can use them. But there's something really satisfying watching that log turn into usable stock that you know you're going to be able to use instead of cutting it up into firewood. And it was right about here that I realized, me being the super genius that I am, had the head on backwards. So before I installed this lubrication tank, I used my tractor to flip the head around to face the right way. Now the lubrication tank is designed to hold fluid, and the fluid has 2 purposes. It not only helps keep the blade cool, but it also removes and washes away most of the sap that sticks to the teeth. Now, I know a lot of old timers like to use their own concoction of diesel fuel and kerosene and other stuff, but for most of the stuff I'm cutting here in the middle of Iowa, I find that water and just plain old dish soap does a really good job of keeping the sap off. Now, if I do cut something a little bit more sticky, like a softwood log, like a fir or a pine, then I'll mix in a little bit of pine sol just to help wash that extra sticky sap away. But water and dish soap seems to work perfectly fine for me. To power my mill, I did choose to upgrade the motor. So the HD36 comes standard with an 18 horse motor, but after talking to the team at Norwood and letting them know that I was planning on cutting a lot of hardwood logs in the 30-inch range, they suggested upgrading to the 23 horse motor, and I did come to find out most of their mills do get shipped with the 23 horse motor. Most people choose for the couple $100 extra to upgrade to the extra horsepower, and I did feel like the extra 5 horsepower for a few $100s up front was probably the best bet in my situation. And here you see the centrifugal clutch. This ties in the motor with the wheels and in turn with the blade. This guy is the idler wheel, so this one basically free spins, but then this wheel is the one that is tied to the clutch. So when you throttle up the motor, the clutch engages, and the drive belt there connects the wheel with the clutch, and that causes the entire blade to start spinning. Now, it might seem kind of trivial, but one of the nice things about this handle on the Norwood is not only does that lever throttle up the motor, it also starts the blade lubrication. So you don't have a second lever to worry about turning your blade lube on, which is kind of nice, just saves a couple steps. And here you see my first attempt at unraveling one of these blades. And yes, I should have safety glasses and gloves on, but I don't. I got it done without cutting myself. And this is something that everybody wants to know when I go out and mill for them is how much do these blades cost? They're 167 inches long, and they're actually cheaper than like your standard bandsaw blade. I think I can get a box of 10 of these delivered to my house for about 240 bucks. So I usually just tell people 25 bucks per blade. And if I do go out and mill for people, I let them know up front, if we run into metal in a log, they are responsible for paying for the blade because I can't have it resharpened at that point. And I have found a lot of metal in logs. We've found a lot of nails, screws, and bolts. And once you hit one of those, the blade will lose some teeth and it's unable to be resharpened. This guy here is the receiver for the winch assembly. And the winch assembly is just an arm that has a winch on it. It sits above the bed a couple of feet. And with the combination of the winch and a couple of ramps that you'll see in a minute, it makes it fairly easy to load logs. I've used this winch and the ramps to load logs up to about 4,200 pounds. So it works really well.
All right, so there we have it. The assembly on this thing went together really quite well. Honestly, better than I was expecting. There were a few things that I stuck together backwards and had to take apart and reassemble, but that was me just kind of speeding along, trying to get out here and work. Let's talk about the time it took me to get this mill together. I think I did this over about a 5-day period, as you can tell probably from some of the footage. In Iowa, if you don't like the weather, wait a day, because I think we had basically winter, spring, and summer while I was assembling this. So I think about 5 days to get it together, and that was not me working on it anywhere close to the complete 5 days. Usually I would get out here for about an hour and a half, maybe at best 4 hours at a time, kind of in between magazine stuff and juggling the kids with my wife. So really, I think you could probably get it together in a solid weekend. By far, I think the most tedious part of it is putting together the bed. There's a lot of bolts on here. Everything is assembled and locked together with bolts. But it seems to be manufactured really well. Everything went together nicely. Only issues I had with stuff fitting was one package of the support levelers here had some really proud welds on the inside. I had to file those down to get the jacks to slide through. Really minor thing there. I am missing one box, and I let the guys at Norwood know, and they're sending that out for me. I have the tongue to pull it behind my truck. I don't have the sleeve that the tongue goes into, so it was just one box I was missing. They were super responsive, and that should be here in the next day or two. So once that gets here, I will go ahead and get that installed, and then I can move this wherever I want. I got a couple logs over there by my beehives that I think we will cut on this. I do have some fine-tuning still to do here. I have to, square up the supports on the sides and the rollers, and I haven't actually started the engine yet. I need to get some fluid in there and get that started up, and then fine-tune the throttle and the water drip. But that's all pretty minor stuff that I will take care of once I get it all fired up. So if you guys want to see more of this content, let us know. I'm looking forward to doing some milling videos with this. And if that's something you guys are interested in seeing, drop a comment, let us know that. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to be doing, like I said, some milling videos, and throughout the summer we're going to be releasing a lot more builds and other stuff like that that you guys really enjoy. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.